Another question that I'm going to ask, like a version of it to you, Salwan, and then another version to you, Louisa. As you were photographing, like, were people looking at you suspiciously about, like, who is this person reporting on us? And Louisa, I want to ask you the same question about, like, how you report in Iraq, and how, like, especially, working for an American publication in a country that was deeply influenced in a lot of negative way by the American invasion. So someone go ahead, and then Louisa.
As I was photographing in Baghdad, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, being from there has definitely given me advantage than, let's say, someone else that comes in and trying to do the work. And also having just my phone in a country that everybody's on their phone, everywhere in the world, everybody's on their phone. It has really helped me kind of be a little bit more invisible. But the thing is with this project, like, whenever I was around people, I interacted with people. I was, again, I had a feeling when I was working in Baghdad. It's the first feeling I've had in my career where I'm working in a place that understands me and I understand it. I'm working in an environment that was, I'm very familiar with, even though, it's funny to say that this is my first time going back, but, as I kept, learning about my country. I kept online checking the news. I kept reading the stories that Louisa wrote from Baghdad and my colleagues. So, all that has helped me never lose touch with my country, but it's different when you're there. When you're there, even though the air is terrible, you're still in Baghdad, you feel it. The trees, the palm trees is different. I've been to different Middle Eastern countries. But when I woke up that first morning, and as I was saying, I was hearing Iraqi outside my window, I'm like, whoa, I'm not home, but, like, this is weird. I'm hearing my language. And then look outside my window, and I saw a palm tree that's, like, it's different. It's Iraqi palm tree. It's our palm tree. It's not like in Miami or all the areas where I've been in my life.
I understand. Louisa, for you?
Yeah, I mean, one difference, I suppose, that I've had as a reporter compared to people who have been working in Iraq in some of the earlier periods is that security has just been so much better. So there have been times when, I've spoken to people to sort of foreigners like myself who reported at the height of the Civil War, and they, often it was very difficult to move around. We'll talk about neighborhoods or places that we went to, and they're, incredibly surprised that it's possible. But the amazing thing about working in Iraq is that you can kind of pretty much go anywhere and speak to anyone, particularly as there are so many sides. It's so politically divided in so many ways that if one person won't speak to you, then the other person will, particularly when it comes to something like corruption or something else. So, that's definitely an advantage. Working for an American newspaper, and indeed being British, so two forces involved in the invasion of the country.
Talking to everyone, they left me alone. I'm sorry. They didn't know I was in America.
It can be, it can be difficult. People are understandably, or can understandably, be suspicious. I started this particular sort of assignment in 2019, and very shortly after President Trump ordered the assassination of one of Iran's most senior generals and a leading Iraqi militia leader outside Baghdad airport, Soleimani and Abu Mahdi al-Mohandes, and brought America and Iran nearly to the brink of civil war on Iranian territory. And of course, you have reporters like me in the middle who suddenly it's very hard to get access. It's very hard to get answers from the very people you want to speak to. A lot of these are unbacked groups because understandably they say, well, why the hell are you calling us? We don't want to speak to you. The Washington Post sounds to many people like state media, and it can be hard to change those perceptions. So by and large, I haven't had any particularly difficult security experiences because of being a foreigner. Frankly, the worst security experiences we've had have been, you know, when we've been with protesters and the riot police have fired on them and by extension on us. But the, you know, the nationality is something that you have to navigate, and it's understandable. Some people just don't want to speak to you.
And Iraq is very diverse. Like a lot of people think, oh, there's only Muslims or Christians, but like even with Christians, there's different groups. In Iraqis, there's different groups. Like some of the stories we went, Louisa and I, and certain groups, you know, yeah, they speak different than the other Iraqis in the south, and you have to know their tradition. And like, for example, like you go in a room, you have to say hi from the right, not from the left. I mean, all these things, like, you know, if you do any of them, you may have disrespect to them. So like, I mean, those cultural things, they may be a little bit difficult, but people are, you know, still have a big heart in Iraq. They're very welcoming.
It's
Yeah,
a hugely welcoming country. I mean, that's the thing. There is you know, there is both a, you know, a tradition of hosting, but also, you know, people are incredibly warm, and you really, as a foreigner, you really feel it.
And I think it's also very important to mention how the key role that local staff plays in facilitating your work. Mustafa Salim in Baghdad for us. Can you talk a little bit about that?
It's very important that I do not suggest that I'm doing this work alone. I am absolutely not. Yeah. You know, as Salwan has said, Mustafa and Simsim, our driver, Osama, we go around everywhere together. Mustafa is, you know, has been doing this work since 2014. He also has the closest thing I've ever come across to a photographic memory. It's phenomenal. And he has an astonishing way of speaking to everyone, you know, smoothing over situations that I sadly could never smooth over in a million years. The work would be completely impossible without him, you know, just because I'm, you know, when we say my work, it's not my work, it's our work, and he's a vital component of it. They both are. Same.
I mean, for me, they, as soon as I landed, they, I've speak with people only online or something, and then they adopted me as a brother to them, and we did everything together. And that's the one thing when I went back home, I was never worried about. I was confident in that Iraqis will always be Iraqis with their generosity, welcome, really helping you. And I saw that in so many different scenarios, as you will learn in the story when it publishes. Mustafa and Osama were a huge part of why we were able to do the work we did.
Yeah.